The Elevator by William Sleater.
Characters: Martin Skinny, weak 12-year-old, claustrophobia, afraid of closed spaces. Martin's father, strict attached, middle-aged man, tired eyes, works from home. The fat lady, very fat, chubby small, keen blue eyes, weird smile, unusual behavior. Explanation. The story starts by describing an old building with an elevator. The elevator of this building was quite small and could only hold 3 people at maximum. Martin had never been a fan of elevators, and this one was especially old. It had little lighting and dirty walls, and the door always shut with a lot of noise. Martin felt suffocated even if there were only 2 people in it. He had tried the stairs, but they were no good because the light was broken and no window was to be found. Once he had climbed it to the 17th floor and was gasping terribly. His father asked him the reason for it, questioning why he had not used the elevator instead. When Martin looked at his father's face, it seemed to be saying that he was a coward, not even able to play sports properly. Martin was scared to see his father's expression and decided to always use the elevator from that day. He convinced himself he would get used to it, just like the bullying at school. However, he never really got used to it. He was always afraid the elevator would stop and he would be trapped in it for hours. He did not even like it when the other passengers were there either. One day, as Martin was going down the elevator for school, the elevator stopped at floor 14. A fat lady with a green coat that ballooned around her got on the elevator. Instead of turning back around to face the elevator doors, she just kept looking at Martin. Martin was getting really scared by her and looked at the lady, and yes, the woman was still staring at him. Martin could not understand why she kept looking at him, and when the elevator stopped at the first floor, he wanted to bolt out of there as soon as possible. As there was no space inside, he had to wait for her to come into the lobby, and then he ran away from there as fast as he could. He thought about the incident all day but could not make any sense of it. When he returned to the building after school, he was very nervous. He tried to be brave by convincing himself that there was nothing to be afraid of an old lady. He got on the elevator, and when the elevator stopped at the 3rd, he was surprised to see the old lady getting on it. Martin couldn't believe his eyes, but he said meekly that he was going up. The woman nodded and pressed the 18th floor. Martin was curious about this, as she had previously stepped on the elevator from the 3rd floor. When the elevator stopped at Martin's floor, he quickly squeezed past the woman, thinking regrettably that now she knew where he lived. Later in the evening, Martin asked his father if he had seen a strange lady in the elevator. His father replied to him vaguely. When Martin insisted about the women being there, his father accused him of being afraid. Martin could see his father's disdain clearly and waited until he got to his room to cry. The next day, when the elevator doors opened, Martin was shocked to see the old lady already in the elevator. Seeing her, Martin was so spooked that he decided to use the stairs. As he started climbing down the stairs, he was so nervous that he fell and broke his leg. Martin's father drove him to the hospital, and from his silence, Martin could tell that he was very angry. On the way back from the hospital, Martin was not scared because his father was with him in the elevator. Suddenly, Martin's father announced that he had to meet Mrs. Ullman and stepped off the elevator at floor number 9. Martin pleaded with his father to come along, but his father only mocked him as the doors slammed shut. As the elevator went up, it stopped at floor 10 where the old lady was waiting for Martin. He tried to run past her, but could not due to his injury, and watched in horror as the woman got in and pressed the stop button on the elevator.
Discussion about the ending. The ending of the elevator is ominous and ambiguous, leaving Martin trapped with his greatest fear, the strange woman. It symbolizes helplessness, isolation, and the inescapability of anxiety, making it a chilling psychological horror rather than an outright supernatural event. Question time. What are your thoughts about the ending?